she's very handy.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's rock and roll here and get this rolling. Thank you guys for joining us. We are recording this. We're gonna share it with everybody. Tracy and I have been working all day long with other teachers on this, and they've all been very excited about the potential here, especially considering that everything that we're sharing links with Google Classroom. So you're just a couple of button clicks away from being able to share it with your students and have them interact. It'll store all of their responses for you, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm excited to be sharing this with you.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. So you'll see, first of all, when you've been looking at this slide for a while, and that's just to kind of give you guys a heads up of where we're going to be today, so you're not confused when we're jumping around. So first of all, the whole presentation is in a Nearpod format. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Nearpod, it's kind of like PowerPoint, but it's interactive. So I can use this synchronously. I'm the teacher, you're my students, and you're seeing what it's like as I'm presenting to you in a virtual environment. Or I can send you an asynchronous student-paced lesson, which I'm going to, and you can go through it at your own pace. So when we're done today with the live version, you're going to get a copy of this presentation as well, which would be asynchronous, and you can go through it on your own time. So it's just another tool you can use with your kids if you're looking for free ways to interact with them. This is a Nearpod Silver level free account that you can build this kind of presentation with. So to join the Nearpod live, to see what it's like to be a student, so you might want to use this time to practice and just see, okay, this is what my students will be seeing. Go ahead and open up a separate browser or tab and click on join.nearpod.com. Enter this code, TNCDB, so join.nearpod.com, enter the code, and then you'll be a student. And so you can see what the student view looks like. But you can also watch me on the screen and see what the teacher view looks like. So you can kind of get an idea of how it looks. You can also take notes. If, as a student, there's an upper right-hand corner, a little pen and paper. You can take notes on each slide if you want. So this is just another tool for your toolbox. You guys want to see what it's like. So besides the Nearpod, you'll also have access to a resource list, and that's because we can't get through everything in an hour. So I found a lot of content on life science and wanted to make sure you guys had access to all of it. So I've created this resource list for secondary life sciences, and you can see that it's quite extensive. For everywhere we're going today, you can also access it through these links. So you don't have to go through the Nearpod slide by slide. You can just come to this list and you can go to NOVA that way, or Crash Course that way, or whatever, Nature, whatever really appealed to you. You can click on it that way. It's just another resource that you can refer to all throughout the year when you're looking for ideas and free content. There's just another source. And then last thing, I want to make sure you guys know we're visiting 2 sites today. We'll be going to GPB, which is where I'm from, gpb.org, and we'll also be going to PBS Learning Media. Those are the 2 sites that you're using. And so I recommend, just being familiar with those. That's where all the free content is housed. Okay, so any questions before I jump in terms of where we're going to be? You guys know how Zoom works. Please do chat in the chat box. Please, speak up. It's a small group today. We're recording this, as Donald said, and distributing it to the rest of the teachers, but you guys are the live studio audience. So please do feel free to jump in and add your thoughts, your questions, just to make it more, more instructional. Okay, so first of all, first slide, I did clear my browser. I was hoping this would go a little bit faster this time. There we go. So just me, I'm Tracy Wiley from Georgia Public Broadcasting's Education Department, and Donald and I have been working together for about 4 years now, ever since I started. So we've had a lot of fun. We started with that, it was up in that TELUS Museum. That's the first place we met.
Yes,
yeah. So a while ago, that was a lot of fun. So we can't be together in person. I'm really excited to be with you guys virtually at the beginning of the year, but please know that I do support Coweta County and 80 other districts in North Georgia. So any questions, anytime, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you guys find content. If you troubleshoot any difficulties you're having, please do keep me as another resource. So our goals today: become familiar with GPB's sponsored content on secondary life science, and especially to explore some of the strategies and some of those grab and go assignments. So not just content in terms of videos and podcasts and images, but actual, how do you present them to your kids in a meaningful, engaging way, especially in this virtual environment where we find ourselves again. So for GPB, we're going to concentrate on 3 different areas. First of all, just our aligned content. So it's our kind of relative resources that are aligned to your standards specifically. We're also going to look at our live explorations and virtual field trips, and we're going to look at some of our video series. And all of these, of course, are aligned to secondary life science. So first of all, some of the favorites that we've curated for you. I've gone through this every session, just want to review it for you guys as well. You may remember that in March, the GPB and the Department of Education launched a Georgia Home Classroom. We're one of the few states that have done this, where we've actually created a classroom with content for every single standard in Georgia. So no matter what grade level or what subject area you teach, we have identified free online content to meet that standard. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of that for your grades. Here under Finding Learning Resources is where you'll click that first bar. This is the ones on the right are mostly for littles. You're going to click on Find Learning Resources on the left. It will take you into the Georgia Home Classroom. As you scroll down, you will find your grade level. So it starts at pre-K. Of course, keep on going till you get to 7th grade. And as you get to 7th grade, you'll see science. Click on science. And underneath that classroom resources is every single standard. So even though you have some lesson plans already made for you, if you're looking for supplemental materials, this is a great place to start. So the very first thing that you see is a lesson plan from Georgia Aquarium, so another agency that's providing free content. This lesson plan meets standard S7L1. And so there's a description of the lesson plan, the standard it's aligned to. You click on it, it takes you right to the page. And as you scroll down, you'll see there's more. There's another Georgia Aquarium standard or lesson plan that meets the same standard. And then here is a STEM activity that meets that standard. Another one, Blueprint for Life. Here's something from PBS Learning Media about DNA, and that's S7L3. So you see as you scroll down, it goes in order: S7L4, S7L5. It's going to find every single standard is going to have something for you. So please keep those in mind as you're looking for content. So besides that Georgia Home Classroom, which is really everything that we have kind of just scattered across the subject areas and grade bands, I want to highlight a couple of our specific content areas. So this particular one, trying to get this out of my way. So this particular one, live explorations. You guys may be aware of these. We actually did these live at one point. We're not, of course, doing that now, but you can see the archived live explorations, and several of them do align to your standards as well. So if you click on the link or go to GPB and find our live explorations, you will see Gray's Reef, of course. That is a live virtual field trip to Gray's Reef, where we talk about, and Okefenokee, where we talk about ecosystems, predator-prey relationships, stewardship and conservation, both in a marine environment and in an aquatic environment of the swamp. So those are two areas where you might want to go into them. I'm just going to click on Okefenokee here so you can kind of see what it looks like. This is a longer video because it is a full exploration, but we have basically cut these videos up into portions and put them into YouTube as well. So you don't necessarily have to watch the whole thing or assign the whole thing to your kids. It does come with support materials on the right here. So you can see all of these different links to other resources that link to it. So all kinds of associated resources here that should help you. And then the video itself is a little bit less than an hour. But that's a good way if you just want to get your kids out of the house, quote unquote, go on a virtual exploration of Okefenokee Swamp and talk a little bit about that particular environment. So a couple of live explorations there that work for you. These particular ones are really good for obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information to examine the interdependence of organisms. And it does specifically talk about ecosystems, marine and freshwater, such as is touched upon with Gray's Reef and Okefenokee. So there's Okefenokee for you. There's Gray's Reef. I've gone ahead and embedded them in the Nearpod as well, so it's easier for you to find. But those are where we just visited. Then the other thing I want to highlight for you is our virtual learning journey. So those were really live explorations. A virtual learning journey is a virtual, it is not a live exploration. It's something that we created in a virtual environment, but it's a way for, again, kids to take a deep dive into the forest. So it's not just videos, it's not just interactives, it's everything. When they go into the forest, they can choose their path and find their way around through the forest and explore it. So it literally is an exploration. Comes with support materials again. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. Those support materials do have lesson plans as well and STEM activities, so keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and launch the Forestry Experience. You can see what it looks like. And we have 34 of these. This was the one that's most aligned to life sciences. So that's why I'm highlighting it, but there are 34 of these virtual learning experiences. So the way that you can explore it is you can either go right into the forest. And so here we are on a forest path. And this is a little bit of, talking about what's happening. So you can read the introduction and you can basically choose which place you want to go along the path. Do you want to look at working forests, like how forests are used in industry? Do you want to look at forestry and me, the faces of forest, or what is a forest? So that's one way to explore. And you'll see at the bottom here, there are writing prompts on every page. So it's a little bit of ELA, interdisciplinary work here. So it invites your kids to create a forestry journal as they're going through the forest. So you can explore this way by going through the door, or you can do the table of contents and pick where you want to go. Or if you don't, if you'd like to go the thumbnail route, there's also a thumbnail view here, and it tells you like what's available. There's your journals, here's some of the industry, and so each of these will take you into the next step. You can even turn off the sound. I'm going to go into here. You're getting tired of that. So here's your forest journal. Every page starts with a journal and some birdsong. And you can see, so you can choose photosynthesis, food webs and chains, life cycles. Here's the physiographic regions of Georgia. There's the layers of a forest. One of my favorites is the food web and chain. So this takes you into a page of your journal, and you can see there's animal and plant cells on the right. There's animal, there's plant in a different part. And then over here is the food web. And there's a thinking exercise. So this gives you some STEM challenges to think about. Or go back to where I just was. Jump me ahead. Where are you, food web? Or what I really like is to go in and examine the food web because it's interactive. So it's going to pull up 2 different food webs in Georgia. And so you can choose whichever one you like the best, depending on, I usually choose by the apex predator because sometimes they're what kids usually go to first. So this particular one, the apex predator is going to be the fox and the hawk. And so each one of these will tell you, what the fox says, for instance, in case kids want to know. That's what the fox says. And here's information about the fox. And then you can also click on it and see what the fox eats. Ooh, squirrels and rabbits. So of course they can just kind of explore this, learn about each animal and its relationship to the others in the food web and chain. So very, very cool as they kind of explore this and see what all these different creatures eat. And then if you aren't interested in that one, you can go to the other food web, and that one has different apex predators in it. I think it's the bobcat and the vulture. Yep, so it's just another exploration. So again, just an immersive way for them to explore some of these concepts. And there's a lot more than that, of course. You can see within each page. Here, of course, plant cells and photosynthesis on the next page. So again, they can go in and examine it in the different processes. And then here's the layers of the forest. We have they can pick which one goes where and explore the different layers. And the rings of the tree, what that means. And then the last one here is the journal, the tree life cycle. All right, so, and there's STEAM challenges here, and then of course careers in forestry. A lot of kids don't realize that forestry is our #1 industry in Georgia, agricultural industry, and so they don't realize there's a lot of jobs in forestry. I don't think it's something kids think of first off. So this is a great way to just show all the different opportunities in forestry too.
Oh, wait, go back.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. What did you want? Tell me what you wanted me to.
The careers.
Oh, did you see somebody you know?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, it's so great. We're so socially isolated. Even, you know, a face in a virtual field trip is very exciting.
Well,
Let's look. Forest faces of forestry. Which face do you know?
the forester.
Oh my goodness, the forester. Who is this? Matthew.
Matthew Marizik. So Matthew Marizik's mother works with my wife, and I worked with Matthew's dad at
Wow.
Chick-fil-A way back in the late 90s. So yeah, Matthew is always willing to come join our classrooms if any of you are interested in talking to a real forester. He is fascinating and knows so much. A University of Georgia grad, graduated from McIntosh. So a great kid all the way around, and really interesting to hear some of the things that he talks about. So
yeah, here's a whole video of him. You can watch it, you know, after this.
Yeah.
So it's 2 minutes long, all about Matthew and Forrest. There he is. Hey.
I went to his wedding.
Oh wow! Yes, you haven't seen this video of him?
I haven't. I'll have to check it out later.
Yeah, check that out. All right, so small world. Okay, so that is our virtual learning journey in the forest. I'll pause just for a second in case there's anything else you guys want to speak up about. So we just basically touched on virtual learning journeys and on live explorations in the life sciences, all with that Georgia flavor. The next thing I wanted to highlight were our video series. We have something called Things Explained that we are constantly rolling out new episodes. So if there's something you would like to see, let us know. These are questions, timely questions that have to do with Georgia specifically. So our latest episode is on PPEs and about, you know, how the pandemic is affecting us here in Georgia. But we also did one on bees, you know, how bees are disappearing, and how that affects us in Georgia as a very strong agricultural state with all the crops that we produce. And so you can see there's a few things there for life science that that go along again with your standards and have that nice Georgia perspective that can really help kids become engaged because it, you know, feels more relevant to them. So I wanted to start with highlighting this standard. S7L4, obtain, evaluate, and communicate information to examine the interdependence of organisms. We did that with the Okefenokee and Gray's Reef. And I also want to highlight that with this Things Explained episode on bees. So you can see here we are, it has standards aligned, it comes with support materials, including discussion questions and activities. It's a short little video, about 4 minutes long. Again, that just talks about bees in Georgia and how they affect our agricultural products. So you can share this video if you like it by Google Classroom. Here I am in PBS Learning Media. And you can see if you watch this video and you think it's really relevant, something you'd like to share with your kids, you can click on Google Classroom here. I'm going to try again, Donald, see if I can get it to work.
Okay.
So did you see it that time?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I don't know what I did differently. I did the exact same thing last time. Okay. So anyway, when you click on that button, what I am seeing is my little square here that says Share to Classroom. And then it says Choose Class. So I go in, I click that, I choose my class. Then it says Choose Action. I'm going to hit Create Assignment and hit Go. And then it says title. So I can just put in here, you know, bees are great. That's my title. And then that's all I have to do. I can put in points. I can put in a due date. I can, you know, put some instructions, and then I hit assign. And that's it. I'm done. So my kids will have access to this video. They don't need to have a web account with PBS Learning Media. Their parents don't need to have accounts. Only you as a teacher needs to have an account that's connected to your Google Classroom. That's it. So very, very simple. Another series I want to show you guys is Fast Forward. So again, talking about careers in Georgia is such a wonderful way to kind of put things in perspective for your students and make it more of real world learning. So it's not just this amorphous topic we're talking about in class. It has to do with real people, you know, working in the community. So we have this series called Fast Forward, and this is the science collection. So all of these jobs are in the science field, and they're all in Georgia. So we have, you know, everything from White Oak Pastures, which produces meat, to Turner Broadcasting in the, you know, the entertainment industry. to the Weather Channel that talks about, climate. And so when we get into life science, we're going to talk about things like Skidaway Island State Parks. That's going to be conservation of resources and our natural environments, communities. North Georgia Canopy Tours talks about ecotourism. Let's see what else. We have the Georgia Sea Turtle Center. So again, that's about the marine ecosystem. The other one's about the forest ecosystem. Here's Georgia Olive Farm. So that's going to talk about, again, like pollination. So we've got that. We have Georgia Aquarium talking about the marine environment. So lots and lots of these careers that are available to explore as well that are aligned to standards. So I'm going to highlight one, the Cogdell Berry Farm. And this is a blueberry farm in Georgia, which sounds pretty straightforward, but they do a lot of technology as well. So this is a great across with physical science as well. So there's standards alignments here. You can see that it is aligned to S7L4C, what we're talking about right now. And you can see that there are also these teachable moments that are a part of it. So antioxidants, cross-pollination, Future Farmers of America, so other life science connections. And I'm just going to play a little bit of it so you can kind of see. It is very cheeky. These are silly videos, but they also are really informative and a great way to get your kids kind of interested in the topic in ways they may not be without making that connection to a career.
943,660, 943,661, 943,663.
Are the fast forward folks coming to the 17th, 18th, or 19th?
No, they're coming the 11th.
Okay.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So again, it's pretty silly. It just starts off with kind of this hook just to get your kids laughing, and then it goes into things like cross-pollination and the importance of bees for the Georgia agricultural industry. All right. So I also want to let you know that these resources are available on YouTube as well. So if you don't want to have to go into a live exploration or go into a virtual field trip or even go into a video series, you can find all of them here in our YouTube. Go to the playlists in that third little tab and you'll see there's our Things Explained playlist, and our Fast Forward playlist is down here. And then we also have, Okefenokee is in here as well. So you can see the regions of Georgia and Okefenokee Swamp is right here. All right, so that is just a summary of GPB's content. So just to wrap everything up, we went through our GSE aligned content in our Georgia home classroom. We talked about live explorations to Okefenokee and Gray's Reef. We went to some virtual field trips through the Georgia forests, and then we wrapped up with some video series for careers in Georgia and Things Explained, timely events that are happening in the life sciences. So any thoughts or questions on those before we move into PBS? Anything you wanted to add, Donald? You've seen this before.
Yeah, I think you're running down the middle where we want everybody to be.
Okay, great. All right, so next section, PBS Learning Media Life Science. So in this section, we're going to go again into just how to find the content in general very quickly. I'm going to highlight my favorite life science collections, and then we're going to go over some strategies and grab and go lesson plans for that engaging aspect of working with your kids in a virtual environment. So let's first of all go ahead and take a look at what PBS looks like in general. So here again is just the main page of PBS Learning Media. If you're not familiar with it, you can see that I'm signed in. My name's up here in the corner. And the benefit of signing in is that I have my favorites, my folders, my assignments, which are connected to Google Classroom. My class is connected to Google Classroom. My tools, if I want to make assessments or make studio boards, I can do that and I can share it with my kids. So you can do a lot with an account. But as I mentioned, you don't necessarily have to. It's just if you want to have that class connection, you do need to do an account. Otherwise, you can just send them links to videos and they can access it openly. Nothing is locked. So if I want to search for content, I can search by subject. So up here at the top where it says subject, click on that. I can click on science and life science. So I have this entire collection of just life science content. You can see there are 2,925 videos if I don't do any filters. I can start filtering if I want to, and maybe filter from 5th through 12th. if I kind of want to narrow it down and get some of the material out for littles. But of course, sometimes bigger kids like the things for littles as well. But if I do filter it, I still have 2,515 videos on life science. So it's a lot of content, keep you busy. And over here, you can even see subtopics. So you can, of course, go down into ecology or chemistry or diversity and choose those. You can also filter by type. So it's not just videos, they're interactive lesson plans, games, entire lesson plans, audio, images, documents, all kinds of stuff. And you can sort by relevance, popularity, or newest. So that's one way to get around, is search by subject. You can search by grade. I don't find that as useful because you still have to kind of narrow it down, and grades can be kind of amorphous, but you can use that. You can search by standards. This is a little clunky. It's hard to get, I find it hard to get to the exact standard I want, but that does work. So you can actually search for keyword, for instance, like if you wanted to search for pollination, that would probably work, and it would help you narrow down to some standards. But you can't just pull up like entire pages of vague standards. It has to be very specific. And another way I like to search is the search for nothing to get everything. So you can see this little keyword search up here. And of course you can search for any keyword. But if you just click the magnifying without putting anything in there, it pulls up everything. And now we're up to 32,341. So it's been going up every hour. And you can see over on the left, I can start filtering it again. So on the left, I can filter by some of the higher levels if I want, 5th through 12th. It starts to narrow it down. So now I've got it down to 27,000 resources. I can click on science and life science. Now I'm down to 4,000 resources. And what I really like on the left here is I can of course choose type, but I can also choose language, English, Spanish, German, Italian. I can choose accessibility features. So if I want closed captioning or transcripts that go with it, or even audio descriptions. I can choose additional features like only downloadable videos or only things that come with support materials. So it's another way for me to kind of get right to what I need. So keep that in mind, very easy to use, more than 100,000 pieces of content, all free. It's PBS. We of course know PBS is free and open. And the great thing about this is it takes characters and shows that kids already know about, Nova and Nature or Crap Brothers, whatever it is that they liked, and it puts it into the classroom. So you already have that connection with them. It just matches those shows to resources for you. So that's PBS, and as Dawn mentions, linked to Google Classroom, so very easy to use. Go straight to your Google Classroom. There's that life science search again. I went ahead and put it in the Nearpod, but you can do it yourself just by searching under subject. And then these are some of the ones that I highlighted, because again, it's very overwhelming how much there is. So these are some of my favorite collections. So of course, Nova. Nova is a huge collection. It has over 1,000 resources at least. But you can see that on the left, they do break it down by the type of science. And there is a whole section on life science specifically. So from molecules to organisms, ecosystems, heredity, and evolution, that's all covered in this life section, life science section. And you can see that there are videos here, as well as interactives. Just scrolling down, media galleries. So lots here. There's an interactive game right here, a whole lesson plan. So just some things for you to explore and keep in mind as you're looking for supplemental content. Of course, Nova is a trusted, well-recognized source of true, accurate, and well-presented content. Another, of course, collection I really like and that we know about is Nature. And so Nature, this one has 167 videos, 21 media galleries, 18 lesson plans. Again, you know, I worked in science instruction in the classroom more than 20 years, and I made everything myself. I didn't have money for teachers, pay teachers, and I didn't know that these existed. So I created pretty much everything from scratch. And I wish I had some of these lesson plans to at least give me a starting point to jump off of. So you can see here under Nature, there's Earth science as well, but we've got the ones that I think really jumped out to me were like natural selection, adaptation, and evolution, as well as growth, development, and reproduction. So you can click on any of those and it'll take you a little bit closer into the content that you need for your standards and for your subjects. And then the third one I wanted to highlight, and Donald and I both agree this is one of the best series out there. It's Okay to Be Smart. You guys may already know about this. I watch this for fun, and I don't think I'm that nerdy. I just think they're really adorable. So you can see on the left here, biodiversity is one of the subjects. And so that goes, evolution and genetics, those go really well with our standards as well. And just a bunch of great, cheeky, fun, pop culture references, very engaging videos, so many of them available. Here's the section on evolution and genetics. Why are you multicellular? Is inheritance really all in our genes? There's 24 of those just on evolution and genetics. So if you don't know about this one, definitely keep it in mind. It's great for pairing with instructional resources because it is so engaging. So I use these all the time when I do some of these active learning teaching strategies online. And speaking of strategies, we're going to go now into some strategies. So I'll just pause for a second before I jump into the next section, just to see, are there any questions about GPB, PBS, anything we've looked at, anything you guys want to highlight or share? Feel free, you know, if there's a piece of content that you've used before or it worked for you, feel free to drop that in as well. Or if you need me to go back and review anything, because I'm trying to move relatively quickly to get through all the content.
Hey, is some of this tied in with the material on Discovery Streaming?
So Discovery Education, that GPB used to sponsor Discovery Ed, it had sponsored it for quite a while, but because of the budget cuts, we're not able to sponsor it anymore. We lost our funding for that.
Oh, okay.
So we had Discovery, GPB, and PBS. I used to say it's like having Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime. So just imagine you lost one of those. So you still have two of the three. You still have Netflix and Hulu, for instance.
Okay.
And you just have to kind of, in some ways, you know, it's frustrating because you have less content, but in other ways, I kind of find it freeing because I used to have to present 300,000 pieces of content to you guys. And now I only have 100,000. So it's much easier for me to find what I want to share.
So much easier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of making lemonade out of lemons, but to be honest, PBS Learning Media has always been my favorite. I just like their content better. And so I'm really happy we still have it. And it's PBS, so it's not going to get cut. Whereas Discovery Channel is a paid commercial service. So,
Okay.
so sorry about that. But yeah, it's not going away till August 31st. That's
Okay.
when it closes. And of course, you know, some districts and schools are purchasing it individually, but we can no longer afford to pay for the entire state. We were the only state in the country that did that. And it was super expensive. I just can't do it anymore.
Thanks.
Thanks for asking. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so any other questions before we jump into some instructional strategies? All right, so this is a little document that we put together, Mike and I, that is a collection of our favorite teaching strategies and where we got them so that you guys can also go in and look for some because they are so well done and so well presented. So we highlighted our 3 favorites. And Harvard's Project Zero and University of Oklahoma are my 2 personal favorites. I'm just going to highlight Harvard's Project Zero for this time, just in the consideration of time. So I'm going to click on that link. It'll take me to their Project Zero Thinking Routine Toolbox, which is a great toolbox. It is really well laid out. If you scroll down, it talks a little bit about the research behind all of these strategies in case you aren't aware of them already. But if you scroll down, you'll notice on the left here, you can narrow down by teaching subject. So you can go to science, click on science, and it'll highlight all of the strategies that are really good for science. So this is what I do when I'm teaching a specific topic, whether it's social studies or science or ELA. I'll click one of those and it helps me kind of narrow down to what I'm looking for. And then you can go into the green ones and read them and kind of figure out which one works for me, or as you do them over and over, you'll get more familiar. So for instance, See, Think, Wonder, I think most of us have heard of that. And even though it's so simple and very well known, it really is so, it's just a great strategy. I use it all the time because I still think there are many that get so much information from them. So you can click on that and it'll tell you about that particular strategy. Another one, and I might go into the second one too. So this other one, the University of Oklahoma, is a little bit different. I want to click on that one because this one's a little bit more, it's prettier the way it's laid out. But you can see, this one has, I'm gonna hit Show Advanced Filters. So you can actually narrow this down by group size. So small group, whole class, individual, the time it takes to complete it, whether it's less than 10 minutes or more than 30 minutes, where to put it in a lesson, whether it's the instructional hook or the assessment, some of the literacy skills and grade levels as well. It doesn't go by subject area, but it still has quite a few filters that will help you too. And then when you click on these pretty little cards will turn around. So 3, 2, 1, it tells you a very short, what each strategy does. And if you want to read more about it, you can click on them and it'll pull up the whole card, and then you can read how to do it and you can download all of the things that go with it. So again, really great resource if you're looking for some ideas for active learning in a virtual environment and even in person, but for now, most of these can be used virtually as well. Okay, so back to a standard. We're going to do S7L5 this time and focus on the evolution of living organisms through inherited characteristics. So kind of a touchy subject, so I just wanted to share like an idea of how you can teach this. This is a really interesting strategy that I got from Harvard Project Zero called 3-2-1 Bridge. Not sure if you're aware of this, but it invites the students to start by sharing 3 thoughts or ideas that they know about the topic before you really get into it. So again, this pre-knowledge, pre-assessment of what they know. So you introduce like a topic very basically, ask them to share 3 thoughts or ideas that they have on this topic. Then ask them to share 2 questions, just going into the topic. What questions do they have right off the bat? And then 1 metaphor or simile, right? Evolution is like, or evolution is, so they can you can get an idea of what they know. So that's the before. The bridge, of course, is the content. And so the before, the way that you can do it virtually, I went ahead and put this in here just so you guys can see what it looks like from a student point of view. So this particular one, this is an activity that's embedded in the Nearpod. And remember, Nearpod is free at this level. So this is just called an open answer question. So the topic is the theory of evolution of living organisms through inherited characteristics. And then I just invite you all to share 3 thoughts or ideas about the topic. And so this would be in collaboration where you could share your ideas and we could talk about them synchronously, or you could share them asynchronously and I could go back and read them after and see what your thoughts are. I can hide your names. In the bottom right-hand corner, it says hide student names. So if you want to be anonymous, we can do that. And then people can share what they think about the evolution of living organisms through inherited characteristics. So you can get 1 idea of how you can do this. And then another idea would be you could use maybe a Padlet. I'll show you that in a minute. So this was the content I wanted to highlight. This is from It's Okay to Be Smart. And you may have seen some of these videos, but I don't know if you've seen this one on the 12 Days of Evolution. Don, have you seen this one?
I haven't.
I really enjoyed this because it's broken into 12, it's sort of like the 12 Days of Christmas. It's broken into these really short videos. They're all less than 2 minutes. And it builds up from 1 all the way to 12. And then it has all 12 of them as well in one video. But I really like the way that it kind of gives these little bits of information little by little. And it works really well with this 3-2-1 because you say what you know, and then you show this little tiny video, and then they report again what they learned. So we're just going to play this. This video, again, very, very short. It is standards aligned. You can share it with Google Classroom. I'm just going to play this whole video so you can kind of get an idea of the flavor of this series on evolution, this 12-part video series for your kids that aligns to the standard.
Some people think nature is like a tornado that picks up a pile of raw materials and then spits out a palace. But nature doesn't work that way. Copying DNA, UV rays, chemicals, the shuffling of genes all introduce tiny changes, and those changes are random. But natural selection is anything but random. An organism builds its house using DNA blueprints, but when it copies those blueprints, they're a little different thanks to that random genetic variation. When construction begins, some of those houses that get built fall down. Some of the houses aren't better or worse, just different. But some of the houses turn out even better. The blueprints for the houses that stay standing get put back in the genetic shuffling machine so nature can do it all again, and again, and again, and again. Nature doesn't set out to build one perfect house. It's constructed billions of houses with trillions of blueprints, and a lot of nature's houses fell down along the way. Life isn't just chance. It's the non-random selection of random variation, and it built this beautiful city called life. stay curious.
I just think that's so well done, the analogy with the houses. And again, very short but powerful punch. That's one of 12. So again, if you're trying to, you know, introduce this subject synchronously, you don't want your kids just to be watching a video for 3-4 minutes while you're staring at them on the screen. It's a great way just to throw this really short video and then have the interaction around it. And if you can do that, like I just showed you with the open question, or you can do it this way as well. See, here's the open-ended question. The theory of evolution of living organisms through inherited characteristics. So share 3 thoughts, 2 questions, 1 simile after you've seen the video. What did you learn? And then you can compare it to what they wrote beforehand. So it kind of can show them what they're learning from bit to bit of all 12 of these videos. And so that their knowledge can really gradually grow. You guys are probably familiar with Padlet, so I went ahead and put it in a Padlet just so you could see how that would look as well. 3, 2, 1 bridge, 3 thoughts or ideas, 2 questions, 1 simile before, 3 thoughts, ideas, 2 questions, 1 simile after, and of course Padlets go on, so you can just make it a super long Padlet. So just a couple of free resources and ideas there. And this, as I mentioned, this video series also comes as one complete 12-part together. So this one is 17 minutes, all 12 parts put together. So after you've gone through them in bits, you can maybe assign them to your kids as one big video, 17-minute long, and have them, you know, come back with some final assessments or thoughts on it. So any feedback on that or ideas on that one, guys? Hopefully that's something you can use. I know we're not getting to evolution now, but keep it in mind for when you get there in your lessons. When does that come usually, Donald? Evolution for
So evolution, it's like in the middle.
So just remember, guys, these Nearpods, these resources are still available, so come back to them. Hopefully it just sparks some interest enough that you're like, okay, maybe I can use that, you know, sometime in the winter.
Yeah, so that would be right after Christmas.
Okay, well that works then with 12 days of
Yeah.
All right, any thoughts, ideas before we move on, guys? Got about 15 minutes. All right, I'm gonna keep on going then. Let me know if I'm blowing your brains though. It's a lot of stuff. All right, grab and go interactive lessons. This is really kind of my favorite part to share with you guys because it's new from PBS Learning Media. They just came out last school year and they're constantly adding new ones. In fact, GPB is designing 30 of them to go with our virtual field trips. So that'll be fun. When we launch those, we will have interactive lesson plans as well. But these are really just hands-off, amazing lesson plans. All you have to do is find a lesson plan you like, maybe tweak it a little bit with instructions and share it with your kids. It's that simple. So you can see I did a search for life science interactive lessons and I found 46 of them. So the way that you do this is, again, you just go into pbslearningmedia.org and I can search by subject. So if I go to the subject, click on life science over here, it's going to pull up all this life science content, lots and lots of it, but I want to narrow it down by interactive lessons. So under type here, I'm going to click on interactive lesson. And I see there are 46. Now some of these are probably going to be for littles. So I can maybe start, you know, around 5th grade again, 4th grade if you really want some very basic lessons just for fun to kind of get kids started. But if I narrow it down, you know, 5th through 12th, I'm down to 26 lesson plans to look through. And you can see we've got the human genome, pollination, right? We talked about in the beginning, evolution, we just talked about that. Here's more evolution. Actually, I'm going to be highlighting these, but there are several missions of evolution, so they go in order. Here's another one, a fish out of water. So you can see there's quite a lot here that go on in this area. So I'm going to show you one of them, just so you can see what they look like. Oops, what just happened? Are you guys still seeing my screen? There it is.
Yeah.
Strange.
Sort of.
Sorry, I've got a lot of stuff going on over here.
There we go.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show one of them to you so you can see what they look like. And this particular one aligns well to S7L3. about how organisms reproduce either sexually or asexually and transfer their genetic information to determine the traits of their offspring. So this one is called Reproduction, One Goal, Two Methods. It is aligned, it's really geared for grades 5th through 8th, but I do think it would work with high school as well. Again, when you're introducing a topic, you don't want to necessarily throw the book at them right off the bat, so see what you think. You can favorite it, you can see there's support materials that go with it, so handouts and teaching tips, and you can share it to Google Classroom so that your kids will get the lesson, they will enter their work, send it back to you, you will see their work by child, so that all you have to do is assign the lesson, and that is all the work. You don't have to create the lesson plan, you just have to plug it into your Google Classroom. So here's what it looks like. It's 11 pages long, and remember there are a lot like this. We found 26 that were for grades 5th through 8, and there were 40 some for all grades, for 5th through 12. So you can see this particular one is 11 pages long, and there's a menu that tells you what is on every page. So it starts with an introduction, goes into the different topics, and then ends with a final assignment. You can see this folder called My Work is where the student work is saved. So this is an 11-page assignment. If you assign it on Monday, have it due Friday, your kids may want to go and do a couple pages on Monday, a couple pages on Tuesday, or they more likely will do all 11 pages on Friday, an hour before it's due. But they can save their work little by little if they want to, and it'll be there. There's also a glossary, and you can see the glossary does break down some of those terms that they may not be familiar with. They can go back and check the glossary. So here's the introduction. 2 heads may be better than 1 when you're trying to solve a tricky problem, but when it comes to reproduction, are 2 parents always better than 1? So there's a glossary term, reproduction. We'll click on page 2. And it talks about reproduction, why it matters. And so again, this is spread out pretty well across the pages. It's not a lot of text, you're not hitting them over the head with a ton of text on each page. So that was your introduction. Here's some goals, vocabulary, strategies. This is really just, so the kids have the rubric, kind of know what's expected of them in this lesson plan. And then here's this part about asexual reproduction. So a little bit of background on that one. And then there's your first question. What are some reasons why a living thing might want exact copies of itself? So just kind of get some information. What do they think? They enter their text, it'll be saved in their work, and you can see what their thinking is about why cloning themselves might be a good idea. And you might get some cheeky answers to this. Good way to start the lesson plan. So here's a little bit more. So that was kind of their assessment of asexual reproduction. Here's some information about it. There's a video in here. And again, these videos pretty short. It's 2 minutes long about asexual reproduction. And keep on going, and each page is going to be like that. Give them little bits and pieces. Now here's the part about sexual reproduction. And then they're giving their preconceived notions about that as well. What are some, why do you think this is better? What are some traits that parents might pass down? And then the next slide for that is going to be information about sexual reproduction. A little video here, 3-minute long video. And then after all of that, there's this review it. So this is where they really go in and they, besides just answering questions, they're really interacting with the content. So if they click review it here, it's a 3-part multiple choice quiz. So again, something they're used to, but just to kind of slowly assess, what they're learning page by page. I just love the way it's spread out and it's not so overwhelming. Page 8, we've got reproduction, the pros and cons here of each method. Read about it and then give an example about how an animal's environment can influence the method it uses to reproduce. So little by little going out. And this is one of my favorite ones. Okay, so this is called Arrange It. And Arrange It, again, is much more active learning. So it's not just answering questions, but it's building up to this because you need some background information to get to this part. So it says, think of what you've learned so far about asexual and sexual reproduction. You can watch the videos again if you want, or you can reread the PDF before doing this. But once you feel comfortable, here's those videos we already saw, already there. So again, they don't have to go back. They can just watch them here. Then they click Arrange It. And then here is this activity. So it says drag each card to the appropriate space. When you're finished, you can submit it. So they do have to save it at this point. And so they have 2 different columns, sexual reproduction and asexual. And then they have to go in and match where each one go, where each characteristic goes. So see, it's kind of a little bit more active, and then they can submit it when they're done. So that was page 9. Page 10, a matched activity. So this is to see if they've learned the vocabulary. And so you have to match the vocabulary words into the sentences. So here's the vocabulary over there, and they have to drag them into where they go over here. And so it just gives them an idea of how they learn the vocab. And then the last page is going to be the overall final assignment. And so for this one, it says review your notes and then choose one of the topics below to write an essay about. And so here's 3 things they're doing. These are the essay topics. And then here they've got this little write it, and they can start getting started with their essay, their PDF, and then link. So again, it really is a comprehensive lesson plan. You don't have to do anything, just assign it and you get everything back. So if you feel that it's appropriate for your kids, you can also, of course, have them jump around. I know that sometimes when kids are all different levels in terms of differentiation, you may have kids jump to a certain page, or may have them do, maybe have them go ahead and jump to the quiz and see what they know already. If they are really strong in this area, they don't have to necessarily do pages 1 and 2. They can just do the quiz on 3 and then start on page 4. So you can kind of get an idea, maybe there's a way to help differentiate with your kids. And a lot of these lesson plans do have Lexile levels as well. You can pick a different Lexile. You can choose where your kids are. So I'm just gonna go find some of those. They usually have like this animal on them. I'm wondering, they're usually for younger kids, but I still think they're good sometimes. This one's a good one. So happy families, you see how this has cats in a white background? It's kind of how you can tell. This one might as well, but I'm gonna click on happy families. And so this one is about inherited versus and acquired traits and how that makes families special. So again, same topic, just a little bit easier approach. So I'm gonna click on that and you'll see that this is 23 pages long, which sounds really overwhelming, but it's because it's divided by Lexile level. So if they start here, everyone's here at the same, and there's more for parents at the end, so parents can be engaged. But if they jump into page 2, ask them to start a video, to watch a video about families, and then when they get to the next page, they pick their Lexile score. So if they're this Lexile, it'll jump them to the next level, wherever they pick. So I'm gonna pick the orange cat, 600 to 650, and see it's jumped me to page 7. So you can see that, it is not really 23 pages that these kids have to learn, but it does jump them around depending on their Lexile level. And this looks like a pretty high Lexile level. So this would work, I think, for middle school as well. All right, so any thoughts on those, Donald? You've seen a lot of those today, those interactive lessons. Anything you want me to highlight, or?
No, I think you've done a good job highlighting it. And I hope y'all can see how easy that will be when we're trying to fill in those gaps in our lessons, to be able to use some of these, because you just assign them through Google Classroom and it does it all for them. So I think this is great.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this before. This is cool. Highlight words and information in each paragraph to help explain the meaning of the text. Yeah, that's really cool.
Reading support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat. Okay.
Well.
All right, so I think we're about done then. I'm just gonna, what we did there for PBS Learning Media, we just went over the general, how to search for content, how to filter out what you need. I highlighted some of my favorite life science collections, Nova, Nature, and It's Okay to Be Smart. And then we went over that strategy, the 3-2-1 bridge, and showed you guys a couple of grab and go lesson plans out of the collection that works with life science for secondary. So that is all I wanted to share with you guys, unless you have something else you want to ask or feedback you want to provide. Just otherwise wanted to say, please do reach out if anything doesn't work or you can't find something or you need any help. I'm always around to support you guys.
And she really is, guys. She is great at getting back to you if you have questions. She'll hook you up with another live session if you need it. I can do the same. So please reach out to Tracy or me. Because we can definitely, I definitely want to encourage you guys to use this resource, especially considering it's free.
Yeah, and it's not going anywhere. I know that there's a little shell shock with Discovery Ed, but just remember that is Discovery Education is the Discovery Planet, Animal Planet. It's a commercial resource. PBS is not. So it should be around forever.
Yeah, and Brittany, you're exactly right. It is great content for second 9 weeks. You can also use it if you need additional support for your first 9 weeks. But hopefully we won't spend the entire 9 weeks all online. So hopefully we'll get back to it.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Unless you got more questions, you guys are free to go.
Thank you. All right, Donald, and we'll go take a quick break and see you at 2.
You too.
Okay, thanks. One last chat. Bye, Catherine. Thank you. You too. Have a great weekend, everyone.